Okay, welcome to this week's Halacha Shir. The shir is entitled Women and Prayer, Obligations and Priorities, and it's connected to this week's Edra Pasha's Vayera because, of course, Avram Avinu davens for Sodom, and also Sarah finds herself barren, and a lot of tefillah is referred to in this week's Edra. And it's an opportune time to discuss what are the obligations and priorities when it comes to women and tefillah. So if you're listening online, please email me at j.golker@gmail.com and I'll send you the handout. If you look at the first box, the starting point is a Rambam and Hilchos Tefillah. In short, we're going to see that there's a very fundamental machlokes between the Rambam and the Ramban regarding the view of tefillah, and women will be a massive nafkamina between these two views. Let's take a starting look at the Rambam. Says the Rambam, Mitzvah saseh lehisparel b'chol yom. What is the obligation to daven? Is it min haTorah? Is it midrabanan? Says the Rambam, there is a mitzvah saseh min haTorah to daven every single day. Shenemar va'avadatem es Hashem Elokeichem. Says the Gemara, says the Rambam, that is a reference to tefillah. When it says va'avadatem, that is referring to tefillah. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Avdoi b'chol levavchem. That is referring to tefillah, service of the heart. Ve'ein minyan hatfilas min haTorah. The number of tefillahs that we daven, shachris mincha mariv, the number of tefillahs we daven every day is not min haTorah. Ve'ein mishnah hatfilah hazois min haTorah, nor is the content of the tefillah that we daven from the Torah. Ve'ein letefillah zman kavua min haTorah. And min haTorah, nor is the actual time, the times for davening, is that from the Torah itself. So therefore, the Rambam is of the view that tefillah per se, there is an obligation to daven every day. However, the actual content and the number of times we daven and all the times of tefillah is not min haTorah. Now that is not referring to Kriya Shema, of course. Kriya Shema is separate. That is clearly min haTorah, and the zmanim are fixed in the Torah. And that is a mitzvah seisha zman groma, which we'll see, and therefore women will be exempt from Kriya Shema. But in reference to actual tefillah itself, which is, we understand to mean shachris mincha mariv, the Rambam is of the opinion that is not min haTorah. But the concept of tefillah and davening every single day is, but not the detail, as it were. And therefore, continues the Rambam, this is in the first parak of Hilchos Tefillah, in the second paragraph on the sheet, therefore, noshim, women, chayovin b'tefillah, they are also obligated in tefillah, because it's not a time-bound mitzvah. Now, let's just take a step back and explain that for a second. We know the rule generally when it comes to women and mitzvahs is that women and men are obligated in all types of lo saseh. There are two types of mitzvahs, aseh and lo saseh, positive and negative mitzvahs. Lo saseh, men and women are exactly equal. Just like I can't speak lashon hara, I can't eat treif, all the lavim in the Torah. Well, so too women are on the same area, the same rule as that. When it comes to positive mitzvahs, then we differentiate between Zman Groma and Ein HaZman Groma, time-bound and non-time-bound. When it comes to non-time-bound positive mitzvahs, women are obligated. Now, what are they? So some examples of those. It's sometimes harder to think of examples of mitzvah seish Ein HaZman Groma, but examples of that would be mezuzah or tzedakah. So if some ladies are sharing an apartment, they have a chiyuv to have a mezuzah on the door because it's not time-bound. So positive, non-time-bound mitzvahs, women are obligated. However, mitzvahs hasei shehazman grama, positive mitzvahs which are time-bound, women are exempt from. And there actually are not that many of them. And even those that are in the list, many women take on to do them anyway. For example, shofar. For example, sukkah, lulav. Many women will sit in the sukkah, will hear shofar, and will shake lulav, even though they're mitzvahs hasei shehazman grama. Okay, says the Rambam, that tefillah is a mitzvah say sheloi hazman groma. It's not a time-bound mitzvah min haTorah. El chiyuv mitzvah zu kachu. But the mitzvah is she'eodem mischanan mispal b'chol yom, that every person supplicates to Hashem and davens to Hashem every day, u'magid shvachai, and praises and gives praise to Hashem sh'HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'ach kach she'el tzarchov shehu tzarich lohaim b'bakasha. And then he asks for his needs. In other words, three elements to tefillah. there is bakasha, requesting, there is shevach, praise to Hashem, and there is hodah, and there is giving thanks. So that is min haTorah, and everyone has an obligation every day to do that. But that is fairly minimal. And there's not much you can, as we'll see, you can actually fulfill that min haTorah, at least, very minimally every single day. So that is the Rambam's view, that tefillah per se is min haTorah, but that is easily achieved by just saying those three elements, bakasha, hodah, and shvach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and praise to Hashem. And therefore a woman is obligated in the same way as a man, because tefillah, says the Rambam, is a mitzvah aseh sheloi hazman groma. Now, the Ramban argues. The Ramban says, if you look at the next box, this is in the Hasagas of the Ramban on Sefer HaMitzvahs, mitzvah sehei, elevadai kol inin hatefillah ein lechoyve klal. There is no mitzvahs min haTorah per se of davening. Avol hum midas chesed habayre yisparach aleinu sheshemeh v'oinu b'chol kareinu elov. It's a pure chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens when we do cry out to Him. V'ikha hakosuv v'lo'avde b'chol avavchem. The pasuk. What does he do with the pasuk? It's just telling us that when we do daven, it should be with all our hearts, that we should daven sincerely without any extraneous thoughts. That we're not davening that perhaps it works, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does. That it should just be sincere when we do daven. But the Ramban is of the opinion that there is no mitzvah aseh to daven, like the Rambam is of the opinion. Now, therefore, there are going to be big nafkaminas over here. How so? Take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. This is box number 3. Unsurprisingly, the Shulchan Aruch follows the Rambam, and therefore says, Noshim, and this is in Aruch Chaim, Siman Kuvov, Sif Aleph, in the first box, number 3, Noshim, Afal Pishe P'turim, Kriya Shema, V'chayov B'tfilah. Women, even though they're potter from Kriya Shema, like I said, because that's clearly a Zman Groma, and they're exempt from that, nonetheless, Chayov B'tfilah, they are Chayav in Tfilah, Mipnei Shehi Mitzvah Aseh, Shelo Zman Groma. So the Shulchan Aruch just goes with the Rambam, and therefore women are exempt from tefillah. Now, the Mishnah Berurah gives us some very, very important background. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kol zeh ledas Rambam. The above, that women are exempt from tefillah, is only according to the Rambam. Shirak zmanei hatfilahim midivrei sofrim, that the zmanim are only midrabanan, aval ik mitzvahs tefilahim min haTorah, but the actual mitzvah of tefillah is from the Torah, shenema v'lo avda b'chol vavchem ezu avodah shebelev, v'yom ezu tefillah, ela she'ein lo nusuch yodua min haTorah. The Torah doesn't demand what we say. V'yochel yispala b'chol nusuch she'irtzeh. Really, min haTorah, you can say whatever you want. And whenever you want. And so long as you do it once in 24 hours, either of the day or the night, you have fulfilled your obligation to daven min haTorah. Now, because of Magen Avram, he says very interestingly, he says the Mishnah Berurah, Sha'al pisvar azu nagu reiv hanoshim, she'ein mispalin shmona esrei betmidias, shacha v'erev. And based on this, many women were accustomed not to daven regularly every day, shachris and mincha, lefi she'omris miyad baboker samach lenatila eze bakasha. That every day after they wash negelvas in the morning, they would have some form of bakasha. Please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, may have a great day. Help me look after the kids today. Help me let me succeed in whatever they think. A short bakasha. U'min haTorah yotzes bezeh. And min haTorah, they have ticked the box. They have fulfilled the mitzvah of davening. And it could even be that the Chachamim never obligated a person more. So that is just a corollary of the shitta of the Rambam, and that is what the Shulchan Aruch is following. However, continues the Mishnah Berurah in the next box. Avol das Ramban, but according to the Ramban, she'ikah mitzvah tefillah midivrei sofrim, that the actual ikah mitzvah of tefillah is essentially midrabanon, sheim anshe knesset hagdola she'tiknu yutches brachas ala seder, that was instituted by the anshe knesset hagdola to daven shmona esrei l'spalol on shachris and mincha chayva, that shachris and mincha is an obligation, va'arvis rishus, and initially arvis was a rishus, va'afal pishu mitzvah say midivrei sofrim shehazman groma, even though it's a mitzvah say shehazman groma midrabanon, va'noshim beturas mikol say shehazman groma afilu midivrei sofrim, and the Mishnah Berurah is of the opinion that women are exempt from drabonans, which is zman groma, kagoin kiddush halvana, which is the great example of one. Afal pikein chivu osom b'tfilah shachris u'mincha. Nevertheless, when the Chachamim instituted tefillah in the format that we have it today, they included women in this obligation, i.e. of shachris and mincha, k'may anoshim, like men. Hoyel v'tefillah si bakashas rachamim, since tefillah is bakashas rachamim, and women need rachamim as in the same way as men. V'chein ikka kikein das Rav HaPoskim, and that's the das Rav HaPoskim. So it comes out that what is the obligation of a woman in tefillah? The answer is it's subject to this machlokas Rambam Ramban. According to the Rambam, davening itself is min Torah, but it can easily be fulfilled by a short bakasha, praising Hashem, thanking Hashem, and asking for bakashas. It can be done in 30 seconds, a minute, and that is the ikka obligation min HaTorah, and therefore anything else is all midrabanan, and therefore women are chayiv in it because it's ein hazman groma. Mash'enkin, the Ramban is of the opinion that the ikka tefillah is midrabanan, and when the Anshe Knesset Agdola instituted the Shemona Esra and the format of tefillah, i.e. Shachris and Mincha, which is a chova, and then Maariv, which is now a chova, but initially was a rishus, they included women in the chova part in Shachris and Mincha. And therefore, what does a woman do nowadays? So therefore, it very much depends. It depends on this machlokus. And therefore, the Rambam is of the opinion that women are p'turim from Kriya Shema, but they're chayiv in tefillah, but a minimal recital as I just described, and that is what the Shulchan Aruch says, and the Mishnah Berurah says that's only according to the Rambam that they can get away with that small amount of tefillah. But according to the Rambam, there is a higher obligation. Now, before we get to the bottom line as to what exactly they should and shouldn't do, let's just look at the bottom box on the page. This is the Mishnah Berurah regarding sort of like a summary almost. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah, Yesh lahazir lenoshim sheispalu yudches. One should encourage women to daven Shemona Esra, v'nochen gamkein sheikablu alein al malchus shamayim, tahanu shemra kol ponim Shema Yisrael. So therefore, one should encourage women to daven Shemona Esra, at least Shachris and Mincha every day, and say Shema every morning. V'yomru gamkein birchas emes v'yatziv k'dei lismech kula tefillah, and say the brachas of emes v'yatziv, which is the brachas after Shema before Shemona Esra. So, which is so they can be somech kula tefillah, i.e., they can say Gal Yisrael just before they say Shemona Esra. V'chol zalin Shachris u'Mincha, and that's true regarding the obligation to say Shemona Esra for Shachris and for Mincha. But tefillas arvis shehu rishus, but Maariv, which is initially was rishus, afal pisha achshav kvar kiblanu aleim kol Yisrael l'chayv. Even though nowadays we have taken upon ourselves as men, that is that is an obligation. And therefore, women have not taken this on themselves as an obligation, and therefore the vast majority of women therefore do not daven Maariv. What about Musaf? V'tfilas hamusafin b'tzlach kosav v'tpeturos. The tzlach, the Noda B'Yehuda is of the opinion they are potter. Avol b'seifim mogin giber and posuk the chayov as ayin sham. So that's a machlokus regarding Musaf. So, what is the bottom line? What should a woman do? And the answer is, it depends very much on what stage she's at life. Because, let's say for example, you have a young mum where she is busy from early morning till late at night, and she hasn't got time to daven Shachris Shemona Esra, Mincha Shemona Esra in the way that she perhaps once was when she was younger. So then she can certainly fulfill the obligation by following the shitta of the Rambam, and a simple supplication such as a Yehiratzon after Birchas HaShachar, or any tefillah which opens with praise of Hashem, with the Shevach, and give thanks to Hashem, a Hodah, such as Birchas HaTorah, then she's done that. So if she just says, let's say when she wakes up in the morning, she washes Negelwasser, and then she says Birchas HaTorah, and Birchas HaShachar, she has fulfilled her obligation, according to the Rambam, of what she needs to daven. Now, if she can do a little more than that, say for example she has more time and whatever her station in life is, then Shemona Esra of Shachris and Mincha, according to many poskim, is the minimum requirement. The Chavetz Chaim's son wrote a biography of his father and writes that when his mother was younger, raising the children, the Chavetz Chaim's wife raising their children, that the Chavetz Chaim told his wife that at this stage in life, it's not necessary to daven Shemona Esra, and that's what she did. She just did a minimal supplication, like I said, which can take a moment or two, a minute, after she washes Negelwasser or at any point in the day, and that is the basic obligation. More than that is very laudable, but it's not essential, and depends on the stage in life. And therefore, when I know when students in school ask me what they should be davening, of course, at that stage in life, it's important to try and daven Shachris and Mincha, and I've got a priority list based on Rav Neustadt's checklist about what the priority would be. And then in that stage in life, it's the right thing to do. For example, Shachris and Mincha Shmona Esrei, the first, the Shmara, ideally, Birchas HaShachar, including Birchas HaTorah, and then, like the Mishnah Berurah just said, Emes V'Yatzav and Silgal Yisrael, and then Pesuchi de Zimra. Again, it depends on the time, Yotzar, Navarabo, etc., etc. So it depends very much on the time. But if a lady is very, Baruch Hashem, busy with a young family and she hasn't got time, then a simple supplication, which opens with a Shevach and the Hodah, and then a simple Bakasha would suffice. They tell a story of Reb Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, one of the great poskim of the recent times, that a young mum came to him and said she's not sure what to do. She has got a very, she gets up early in the morning, the kid wakes her up at whatever time, 5 o'clock in the morning, and she's on the go from then until she drops the kids in playgroup and one of the babies has a nap, and she's got this sort of very short window until she goes shopping and then picks up the child from playgroup. She's got a small window, a 10-15 minute window. What should she daven in that small window? That's the only real window she has in the day to daven Shachris. And the Reb Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg told her that at that point in the day she should make a coffee and relax and recharge the batteries. Because at that stage in life, when things are so full on with a young family, it will be appropriate to follow the shitta of the Shulchan Aruch, which is the shitta of the Rambam, that a simple supplication suffices. Of course, at a different stage in life, then it's appropriate to expand that and to daven Shachris and Mincha as described. So that is really the background of these halachas regarding a woman's obligation when it comes to tefillah.